Rightio, hello people that know how's all doing? Today we're doing a different kind of video now. We're doing a kind of historical too, I suppose you could say. It's kind of different. I'm not giving out about things now, thanks be to God. I'm not yet giving out about it because there's nothing that bad happening yet in this country. And I use yet as oh fucking never mind. We talk about the situation at hand now instead of talking about things. So Michael Collins or Eamon Devilier. So Michael Collins was the leader of the the Free State when back in the 1930s. My brain just had a lag then. It was like trying to think of what to say. That's mainly what happens to me. I try and think before I say things. So yeah, he was the commander in chief of the army. That's the word I was looking for. After the Irish, well, it was called the Flying Commons and the Irish Defence Forces. Eamon de Valera. It was the Civil War. It was the Irish Civil War. So Eamon de Valera was against Michael Collins and Calbu and all that. So yeah, that's that part of history. So that was back in the 1923s. 1923, not in the 1923s. So, uh, maybe 85 years ago, I think 86, 85 years ago. Around that Michael Collins was shot in a place called, in County Cork called Bain-la-Bow, which means Valley of the Flowers, which means that in Irish. So, and yeah, so, and I suppose I still think that Eamon de Valera had something to do with it. Something to do with Michael Collins' death. I say he ordered Michael Collins' death because Michael Collins was a threat to him and Michael Collins was more of a leader and more of a revolutionary and I suppose more of a better person, more of a fighter than Eamon de Valera was. And he was more of a leader and more of a person who wouldn't give up. And that's Eamon de Valera was afraid of. Eamon de Valera was very afraid when he was met. What I think of Eamon de Valera personally, that he was very afraid when he was met with a big force, when he was met with a force of people. He could deal with small factions, I suppose, for small places. But as soon as the British Empire or any other country came knocking, that big empire, the British Empire, came knocking, he shit himself, to be honest with you. And he sent Michael Collins over to London to discuss the treaty because he shit himself, Eamon de Valera. And Michael Collins was I suppose, the legend and the man himself. Uh, they went over there and terrorised the British Empire over in Westminster. Because I could assure you, if I was British Prime Minister at that time, I wouldn't want to see Michael Collins on my doorstep. I'd be terrified that he'd shoot me. Uh, so yeah, I kind of am really for Michael Collins. I am actually a huge Michael Collins fan. So yeah, I would be a huge Michael Collins fan. I wouldn't be the biggest Eamon de Valera fan, but I continue on with Eamon de Valera for a few minutes anyway, and then I focus a bit more on Michael Collins. So Eamon de Valera survived for a long, long time after 1923, and Michael Collins sadly passed away in 1923 because he was assassinated, as I said. Uh, the Irish Free State didn't get its independence in 1949. So basically, at the beginning of the war, the first president wasn't Eamon de Valera, it was Douglas Hyde. I don't really know much is known about Douglas Hyde. I will look into it. I might discuss it sometime. But Eamon de Valera became the second president of Ireland. I don't know what year. It's very hard to know because records, different things happened during that time, and this country was very bad at keeping records of how many people died and this, that, and the other. Like, God knows how many people died in the famine. Nobody has any records because the GPO in 1916 had all them records, and sadly it was bombed by the British Empire. And I don't hear an apology for that. The British are asking Theresa May, but hey ho, we get them back someday, I suppose. uh, so yeah, even Devlin did become the president. He lived on for. He was president for years. He was president for years. He was president during the war, World War Two, I think. Uh, which was called the emergency in Ireland. Then he was president in the 60s too, 1960s. Became president. He was president in the 60s. because President Kennedy of the United States, JFK, in other words, came to this country in 1963, a few months before he got assassinated. He came to Ireland, and I remember Eamon De Valera were going to meet him and him speaking at the door. So, yeah, Eamon De Valera did live for a long, long time. I think Eamon De Valera died in 1980 something, I don't know, or 1970. During that time, he lived during the 60s and he lived during half of the 70s. I don't know what time. It was near the end, side of the 1980s or the end of the 1970s. I don't really know. I don't really give a fuck about Eamon De Valera. That's the truth. I honestly really couldn't give a fuck, to be honest with you. But Michael Collins died the 21st of August 1923. I nearly said 2003, Jesus Christ. Uh, yeah, but I wouldn't be an Eamon De Valera fan. I might as well just say it, I wouldn't be for Eamon De Valera. I wouldn't be even, because I believe, and this is my opinion, that Eamon De Valera ordered his men that was fighting the Civil War, to kill Michael Collins, to stop him from taking complete control of the island of Ireland and getting Ireland's independence. Eamon De Valera wanted to be known as a man that could use it politically, and he knew damn rightly that he wasn't going to get unless he fought for it. And he was afraid. He was afraid because Michael Collins had the biggest support. There was more people for him than there was people for Eamon De Valera, because Eamon De Valera was from America. And to be honest with you, by right, he shouldn't have really been president because he was from America. He wasn't. And that's the only reason why. Eamon De Valera to me is a coward, because during the 1916 rise he was in Boland's Mill, which is in Dublin, and he was one of the leaders, and the British Army were like, we're not going to execute you like the leaders, James Connolly and Tom Clark and all that, and MacDonald and all that, because he was American. Because he was American. That's the only reason why they kept him alive. He spent a few months in prison, sure, but the same was Michael Collins. Michael Collins wasn't a leader in 1916. He spent a few months in prison after 1916 in an English jail and got out and returned to Ireland. And his name kind of became known. He kind of took over because the rest of the leaders were all dead. So he kind of came back and took over, and the British government made a big mistake letting him out. So, but I suppose they couldn't keep him in because he's the man himself. He's the legend. He's Ireland's god. He knows how. He knows. He knew everyone. There's a rumor going around the country. There's a legend about Michael Collins that he knew every rooftop in Dublin, which is probably the truth, because I say he was very good at getting away from the black and tans and the British guns and all that. And Eamon De Valera was kind of more of a poster. Michael Collins would fight. Eamon De Valera would just surrender if somebody came up to him with a gun. That'd be the type of Michael Collins. Like in Bale and LeBlanc was the perfect example. He's there was a thing blocking the road. There was a wagon blocking the road, and he's told his soldiers to get out and fight. And he got out and fight too. And sadly, a bullet went straight through his head and killed him instantly. But he died at the end of a good fight. That's one thing we should remember. Eamon De Valera died in his bed. Michael Collins died in a good fight for his country. That's one thing we have to remember. Michael Collins died with a Free State hat on him, with an Irish Defence Forces hat on him, with the symbol of the Irish Defence Forces on it, and in an Irish Defence Forces coat. I mean, it's not now, but back then it would have been an Irish Defence Forces coat. They'd be changed now. But Eamon De Valera died in his bed. Michael Collins died for his country. He took a bullet to his head that killed him instantly. He sacrificed his whole life to Ireland. He was supposed to get married a few months later, and that cursed bullet had to hit him straight in the head. And Ireland, I have no doubt, in my mind and in my heart, that if Michael Collins had been alive and defeated Eamon De Valera and became President of Ireland, there would be no Northern Ireland. there would be no Northern Ireland. He would have got Ireland united. He would have united the whole province. He would have united. He would have made everything better in this country. He would have made Ireland a superpower in the world now. But no, that caustic bullet had to go through his head. I suppose the thing we can learn from Michael Collins is we must always stand up to powers of empires. We must never let the empires of any country tell us what to do, imprison us, abuse us, burn our houses. And that's what Michael Collins fought for. Eamon de Valera talked about it. That's the thing we must remember. Eamon de Valera talked about it. Michael Collins done it. He played their ball. He killed some of theirs. They killed ours. He said we killed ours. And that's the way he got to them. By shooting British generals and heads of the British army. And terrorising them. Afraid that because they shoot them and then they run away. Which really terrorised them because they couldn't tell who done what and who didn't do this and they didn't know who done what. So, and Eamon de Valera, I don't really know what much Eamon de Valera done because I wasn't alive back then, but I hardly doubt Eamon de Valera done much when he was person, to be honest with you. So, yeah, that's my big fucking 11-minute speech. It was supposed to be only about 8 minutes, but fucking Jesus Christ. So, in my mind, Michael Collins is the man of them. Let's just get this straight. There'd be never another man in Ireland or in the world like the general himself. The man who saved Ireland. Michael Collins. General Michael Collins. And I still refer to him as General. I could call him President Collins, but sadly, he didn't live to see that day. We must remember his spirit, and we must think about Eamon de Valera and what he done. I know Eamon de Valera might not done it, we don't know, but that's what I believe that he done. But for now, we consider Eamon de Valera as an enemy. And as Michael Collins as the legend of Ireland. Thank you for watching, subscribe for more, and bye.